Um, Sabuj is a PhD researcher at QUT in Queensland, and his research focuses on drug delivery nanoparticles. So over to you, Sabuj. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll share my screen shortly. Can you see it? Okay, yeah. So as Sarah mentioned, my name is Sabuj. I'm a PhD student at QUT, so I'll talk about my STEM career pathway. So before I introduce, I'll show some backgrounds, how people show their career journey. So you might see people having so much success in their life and they see their career journey like the stairs I have shown over there. So success is coming up, success one after each after then again. So people find it very easy for them to reach to their goal, and the stairs will look like this, as you can see. But for some people, it would be very difficult to have their career journey and to determine what actually they are going to do, whether they would be a scientist, an engineer, a medicinal doctor, or a lawyer. For me, I was also confused when I was at school. Basically, people see that there are so many options for them, but for me, my family decided what I was going to do. So my father told me you would be an engineer when I was in class 8 or 9. Then after 1 year, he told me, no, you will be an engineer, you will be a doctor. So I changed at the time that I should be a doctor, but whether I would be an engineer or doctor, I took science to be these two things. But still, I was never interested in studying science. I enjoyed most my high school days playing football like this, whether it was rain, it was sun, and anything. During my holidays, each afternoon, I was playing football with my friends and the boys around my villages. But still, I enjoyed this thing. At high school, I enjoyed mostly my lab work, and you can see there are some guys, they're looking at the practical demonstration, but I never would be these persons. I always try to be that person who is demonstrating the thing. So I love to work in the lab by myself, and from there I took my career as a researcher because I love doing research, lab work, and everything. So now I will tell what happened in my STEM career. These are some crossroads I have faced in my career journey. In 2007, in my country, there is high school, then college, we call it college, which is in Australia called senior high school. So in 2007, I passed my high school in later marks, and 2009, same happened with me. Then I was thinking that as I passed, I should be try to get admitted in medical to become a doctor, but unfortunately I couldn't get a chance. So being a medical student, for admission, people need to study a lot biology. So I used to read a lot biology. Then I got admitted in university in biological science subject. And in 2050, from that subject, I graduated being first in the department. And 2007, I did my master's over there from a specific branch. And also I became first on that one. And luckily in 2018, I got a scholarship from Macquarie University to do master in research. That was the main crossroads in my life. From there, my research journey began. And 2018, I graduated from Macquarie, and 2019, I was awarded a scholarship from QUT, where I'm doing my research now, and here I am now. So what I'm doing in my PhD, I'm preparing those nanoparticles, those usually called nanomedicines, and these medicines are being delivered through using these inhalers or puffs, and those will be traveling through mouth, then other parts of the mouth parts, then it will go ultimately to the lungs. So what it will do in the lungs, there will be infected lungs, the people who is suffering from lower respiratory tract infections, asthma, and other kind of diseases, including COVID-19. These drugs would go into the lung and they will show their effects. So my research is to preparing these nanoforms that will be delivered in lungs using the pumps. So research is my passion because I enjoyed lab work. Whatever I am doing, I am enjoying now from the beginning of my school, and I'm related to innovation because I'm preparing nanomedicine, which never have been used in pubs, because in the market there aren't any nanomedicine available. I'm solving a problem that is related to lower respiratory tract infections, and I hopeful that if this medicine could be developed, it could also be used for COVID-19 and other lung-related diseases. And I'm also supporting society. Beside doing my PhD, I'm also having some volunteering roles. And at the end of the day, I'm satisfied what I'm doing over here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your presentation, Sabuj. It was really interesting to hear you talk about how you thought your career was initially going to be a sort of a step situation, but it ended up being more of a kind of windy road. So thank you very much for that. So next up we have Alejandra. So she, I'd like to introduce her. She is also from QUT in Queensland, but her research focuses on DNA repair and genomic instability, which is a key hallmark of cancers. So over to you, Alejandra.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. Can everyone see it? Yeah, awesome. Hello, good morning, everyone. As I said, my name is Alejandra Fernandez, and today I'm just going to be sharing with you what has been my journey to becoming a scientist. So first, I'm just going to start with a little bit of myself. I am originally from San Salvador, El Salvador, which is a country in Central America. If you don't know where that is, it is located in that small bridge that links North and South America. And El Salvador is basically the smallest country of the American continent. My country is known as the land of volcanoes because there are many volcanoes there. It also has amazing beaches for surfing. Our new currency is Bitcoin, and we also have the US dollar as a currency. And since we are Mayan descent, there are some pyramids that you can visit anytime. So over to the science. So my qualifications on my way of becoming a scientist, everything started back in school. When I was in high school, I just took subjects such as physics, maths, biology, and chemistry. And out of these four, I really enjoyed biology and chemistry more. Then at university, I was still unsure at the time because I was in between deciding if I wanted to study law, and my second choice was actually doing biomedical science or anything science related. But I guess that my desire of studying overseas was greater. So I decided to choose science because I was interested in it since I was in a very early age. So I moved to Australia and I did a Bachelor of Science and I majored in biochemistry and molecular biology. I did this at the university, the Griffith University. Then I followed by doing an honors year in bioscience, also at Griffith University, where my thesis was based on the chemotherapeutical properties of juniper berries, which is a plant. And then right now I'm currently enrolled in my Doctor of Philosophy in biomedical science through the Queensland University of Technology. So question time. Was STEM my first choice? Actually, yes. When I was very little, I always wanted to be an astronaut because I used to just love the universe, the planets, and everything that had to do with space. So I guess that STEM has always been in my mind. What drives me is that I have always, as I said, I have always liked science, particularly anything that has to do with the universe. And through studying biology and chemistry, I realized that the human body is no different. I also had something that I think played a major role was that I had a really fun biology and chemistry teacher, and he made science just incredibly interesting and fun to all of us. And also, I just naturally love solving problems and being challenged with difficult questions. So what keeps me in science? It's my passion for being part of new discoveries and or being part of the process of developing new treatments and making them available to the patients who need it. So as I said, right now I'm currently doing my finishing up my PhD project. I am a final year PhD candidate. And as I said, I am doing this at the University of Queensland. I am based at the Cancer and Aging Research Program, CARP Lab. And this is based at the TRI Institute, which is a translational research institute next to the PA hospital. And my research project is the role of retinoblastoma binding protein 7 in maintaining genomic stability. Just to make this more understandable, this protein, my target protein, is a protein that is supposed to be involved in DNA damage repair. And it is our goal that in the end, we might come up with a potential new chemotherapeutic for the treatment of lung cancer patients. Also, this is just an example of one of the many experiments that I have done where we're looking at my target protein, RBBP7, interacting with a really important protein in DNA damage repair called 53BP1. And this is just them interacting together. And it's a role that I am currently investigating on how this activity actually helps our DNA to keep its stability. Thank you so much, and I am open to any questions. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Alejandra. That was, it was wonderful to hear your career journey and lovely to learn a little bit more about El Salvador too. So thank you very much for that background. It was exceptional. Alrighty, so now it is time to move on to our panel discussion. So just a reminder that we're also going to be accepting your questions. So if you have any burning questions for us, so please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to submit your questions. I'm going to start with a question to both of you. If you had a time machine and could go back in time and give some advice to yourself, to your high school self specifically, what kind of advice would you give them? I'll start with you, Sabuj.
Thank you, Sarah. I would say if I was in a time machine, I would say that whatever the thing, like, is it science or commerce or arts, enjoy the thing. If you're enjoying it, like I enjoyed what I was doing in the lab. I also enjoyed playing cricket and football. So school is a time, if I could go back, I would have been enjoyed it more. So whether it's science or anything else, I would like to enjoy it. So I enjoyed a lot. I wouldn't change anything, but I would have enjoyed more. So I would do the same thing in a different way. Thank you.
I really like that, sort of taking the time to enjoy life a little bit more. How about you, Alejandra?
I 100% agree with Sarah, but I think that I would go back, and instead of an advice, I think I would just like tell myself, be ready because you are going to be doing a PhD in the future. Because I honestly never, it was just something that fell into my life, and it was something that I wasn't initially planning. It has been incredibly hard, but at the same time, I don't regret it because it has been challenging in a good way. It has challenged me not only professionally, but also personally in becoming a more mature and more professional, and just like probably strengthening my character a lot. So I think that the Alejandra in high school would be really surprised about like who she is going to become in the future. So I would just encourage her to keep pushing and definitely enjoy life more.
That's fantastic. So a little bit of a follow-up there. You said that you never expected to do a PhD. Like it's not something you kind of grew up always wanting to do. What was the reasoning behind your decision to do a PhD then?
I think that it was probably that I didn't feel confident or smart enough. Like I never really saw myself being able to getting to this level. But then I guess I just kept like I don't know, like I got enough GPA to do my honors, and then after honors it was like the opportunity to do a PhD presented, and I went and had an interview with who is now my primary supervisor, and I really liked the lab and him as well, and I applied for the scholarship and it was granted, and I guess it just happened. And I was already so I did my major in biochemistry, and previously I had been working in a more chemistry immunology related lab. And so I was like, this is great because I have a major in biochemistry and I haven't really gone into it into much depth. So when the opportunity of working in a cancer lab came to me, I was like, yeah, this is great. I am about to start learning more about this area. And that's how it happened. Yeah.
Fantastic. Sabuj, did you have a similar similar journey? Did you want to do a PhD as you were sort of going through, late high school or university, or was it something that just sort of fell into place for you?
It came in my mind in 2015 when I was doing my Bachelor of Science, finishing that thing. So at 2017, when I was doing masters in Bangladesh, I asked my supervisor, what could I do after finishing my masters? So he suggested you can do a PhD. So I asked him, why should I do a PhD? I could grab a job. So he told me, I heard you like doing lab work. Would you still love to do it? I said, in PhD, could I do the lab work still again? He said, yes, you can do. So I told him that then I will do it. After that, I searched for the things what I can do. So I found that in Macquarie, there were projects which people are working on tiny ants, and they're learning behavior. That amused me a lot because tiny ants, small creatures, and they can memorize things. My project was how ants are reacting with the barriers on their path. So each night they come out from their nest and go to their food direction. And I placed two barriers on their routes, and every time after 2 or 3 trials, they were successful. They never crossed the roads. They were successful to find a gap through the road. So it was really amazing how the minute creatures stored their memory in the smallest brains. So it's really amazing. So from 2015, I found that I could do a PhD, and the challenges I made so far, I think it's the best path I could have been done at the time.
Fantastic. So that what you were talking before about actually about ants kind of made me think of another question for the both of you. You've both had quite diverse pathways to get to where you've gotten. What do you think is it? What's the most interesting thing you've worked on or interesting discovery? I'll start with you, Sabuj.
In my PhD, the drug I have encapsulated in polymers. I think polymer encapsulating drug on the surface or matrix, if those could be delivered into the deep lungs, because the market available drugs are in high doses of antibiotics. Those could be taken orally or intravenously. So I found if I could develop something interesting like nanoform drugs, those could be delivered into the deep lungs without having those high doses, which are not very good for human health. The high doses is creating antimicrobial resistance, and still it's having a good economic impact throughout the world. So if those same therapeutic effects could be done using the nanoforms of drug, that would be really good. So I found it's new thing which I can deliver to the society.
Fantastic. What about you, Alejandra? What's been the most interesting thing you've discovered or worked on?
Well, I think that it has been two things. When I was doing my honors, as I said, I was working on looking at the therapeutical properties of Juniper. It's actually, the scientific name is Juniper's communis, which is the juniper berries. And I don't know if you know, but gin is made up of juniper berries. So I was actually looking at this plant and on their potential therapeutic effects on reducing or killing bacteria that trigger immune diseases like arthritis or sclerosis, multiple sclerosis. And it was actually, it was only an honors project. It was very small. Obviously, it requires more research. But yeah, actually, the different extracts were actually reducing. We still don't know. It was inhibiting the growth, but we don't know if it was just inhibiting the growth or killing. But I just thought, oh, well, look, now I have an excuse to have some gin every now and then. And then I guess that now one of the most exciting results that I have had during my PhD has been that initially I was actually really not like frustrated because my project, it's a discovery project, right? So it's out of luck. You either get a really good project that gives you amazing results, or you get a project that gives you probably not that amazing results, but still you can write a thesis and say, I try this and this is what I know it doesn't work and you shouldn't do. So initially, probably during the first 2 years of my PhD, I wasn't really getting anything exciting. But it wasn't until my final year that I started doing other experiments and changing the direction of my project a little bit. And now my project is leading towards the development of a drug that might be a potential therapeutic for lung cancer. And that was an amazing surprise to me because it was nothing that I could see at all at the beginning of my project. So that's just really cool.
So with that, how you said that, as you're working on your project, you weren't getting the results and things. How did that affect you? Did you have to kind of really kind of think back to your purpose of why you were starting to kind of keep going, or was it just a case of like I know there's something there, I just need to find the answer?
Yeah, definitely. I think it has been one of the probably hardest things that I have gone through in my life at the moment, not only because it was challenging in terms of not having any motivation to continue with my research, but also because everything was happening during COVID And I was also obviously like all the way at the other side of the planet away from my family. So it definitely kicked into, am I actually doing this for the right reasons? Do I really want to keep doing this? But I guess that our minds are so amazing that you have two choices. You either decide and like sink into that hole of victimizing yourself and negative thinking, or you get out of there and see. Actually, I had a conversation with someone that he literally said to me, you have to stop victimizing yourself. You have to work with what you have in front of you and make use of that in order to get out and keep going forward. And when he said that, it actually clicked, and it was like a wake-up call. And I was like, yeah, he's right. And I don't know, I started having more conversations with my supervisors, and I started reading more, and I'm like, you know what, this is what I want to do. I've seen this, I want to follow this. And it was definitely challenging, but rewarding at the end. Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. So something that you touched on, and both of you spoke about how you're both not originally from Australia. I'd like to sort of pose the question to you of a little bit of why did you choose to pursue your studies here, and have you thought about the potential of your science careers taking you to other places in the world? I'll start with you, Sabuj.
Yeah, I thought that science career would definitely, in 2015, when I was guided to do a PhD, at the time I decided to do higher studies in outside my country. My first choice was USA, then Australia and Japan. So Japan was at the last because I found the language is very difficult for me to learn, and English is much more easier to learn. As I from the beginning, we learned everything in English, so it was very easy to learn. So I kept Japan in another side, and I found that Australia, being a new country in science, considering to USA, they're doing really good job. And the work I have started in 2018 with Professor Ken Chang. He's a behavioral scientist. He's very renowned in the field of animal behavior. So I found that if I could do that in Australia, and the work he is doing, I really enjoyed it. So Australia came in my mind because of that reason, that the work, if I could get involved in that place, then I could contribute in the field. And after completing master's, I found I could do something in the field of technology. And at the time, the project came up that nanomedicine is being developed at QUT. So I found they were doing hydrogen. It is a natural polymer. They're working with those polymer. At the same time, there was another report that hydrogen is not safe for lung delivery. So I found I could do something new over there. So I used a new polymer, although it is synthetic, not natural, but it is biodegradable. So that's the thing. I choose Australia, and the technological sectors I could contribute, that triggered me.
Fantastic. What about you, Alejandra?
To me, it was more because I already had the idea of, or like the desire of studying overseas. I was considering probably Europe or Taiwan, but mainly Taiwan because my best cousin had already moved there to study Mandarin. And since I already knew English, I just wanted to learn a third language. And I was already taking Mandarin classes, but it's different to actually move to a country where you can actually practice it. But then I was like in the process of applying to move to Taiwan and everything when my auntie, my dad's sister, she actually lives here in Brisbane, and she was visiting for holidays. And so I was in high school, and she was just asking me about where I wanted to study and what I wanted to study. And then she just like suggested, why don't you move to Australia? They're actually really good with science at the moment. And so I've never actually thought about Australia. But then I just started looking into universities and reading about like the different science careers that Australia offered. And then I was like, my dad was actually really rooting for me to come here to Australia because his sister lives here. So he would be like, in Taiwan, you have no one. Yeah, I just applied for the university, then the visa and everything just followed through. And then I was here. Yeah, that's how it happened.
No, that's fantastic. It's great that you have a bit of a support network here, given that you're the rest of your family is so far away. So bringing it sort of back to career decisions and things, what else could you have done in your career? Were there any other career paths open to you? I'll start with you, Alejandra.
Well, after I finished my honors, I had to go back to El Salvador for 1 year. And while I was there, my country doesn't really have any big scientific research field. So I was just thinking, what can I do to use the skills that I have gained? And I happened to meet a forensic doctor who had like offered me to work in forensic science in El Salvador. So I was about to start doing that job when I received the news that I have been granted the scholarship to continue doing my PhD. But if it wasn't of science, then I would have definitely done law. And my very first job after high school was it's so funny because I don't really like computers much or anything IT related, but my very first job was at a company called Singa, which was in charge of, I don't know if you ever played the Facebook games like Pet Society and like Mafia Wars, Farmville. So I was like in the Mafia Wars account, and I was just giving like a technical support to people that were playing the game.
Okay, of all of the things I expected us to talk about this afternoon, the Mafia Wars Facebook game was pretty low on the list, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really random.
Yeah, it is. I guess that just kind of, sort of shows to our audience a little bit more about sort of transferable skills and things that aren't necessarily, just because one door's closing doesn't mean you can't go out the window kind of situation. What about you, Sabuj? You kind of touched on that your family kind of wanted you to go into potentially medicine. Was that another career path that was open to you?
Yeah, in 2011, when I was got admitted in university, at the time I would have been admitted to a medical college to become a doctor. So from school, I never thought anything beyond science, whether I become a doctor or an engineer or the work I'm doing as a scientist. I always think about science because I always enjoyed the lab work, what I was doing. But I would say I'm lucky I am not a doctor, because doctors aren't doing any lab work. They're treating patients. They care about people. Definitely, they care about people. They prescribe medicines. But very least, I know only a few amount of doctors could do research work, especially with microbiology or something like a molecular biological level. But the number of the doctors is very less. So what I'm doing now as a scientist, still I can continue my career as a scientist. In future, I'll still do lab work. Wherever I go, I will do lab work. I'll choose career pathway from here as doing lab scientist or researcher in any other position. So I could have been chosen to become a doctor at the time, but I think I'm on the right path.
Yeah, I think you are too. There's definitely in my discussions with other of our IMNIS Catalyst cohort, there are those who are, really kind of committed to the kind of the people side of science. And then there's those like yourself that are committed to kind of the lab side of science. So it's really interesting. I guess that kind of brings on, so obviously focusing on the lab work is kind of what drives you and what you most, but is it what you most enjoy about what you do? Is it that that the word's failing me at the moment, but wanting to find those potential new discoveries that no one else has done, is that what you really enjoy?
Yep. The two things triggered me. First, lab work I enjoyed most, and second, when I transferred from Macquarie to QUT doing technological sectors, still I was working at lab at Macquarie. That was also lab work. What I'm doing over here is still lab work, but over here, what I'm doing, I can identify some new thing. I can discover some new thing, including nanomedicines. Although there's still a lot to do to finally get those medicine in the market to help people, but I created the base from where other people could do the clinical trials, could do other testings to finally make it commercial. But I discovered something which could be used for other purposes. So I still think that it's most triggering thing for me to discover new things. Being a scientist is the guideline, or it's the right pathway for me to discover new things.
There must be something that is so exciting about being the first person in the world to discover a particular thing. That must be so rewarding. Alejandra, what is it that you enjoy most about what you do?
Well, yeah, exactly what you said. Just it's really amazing when you have been trying so hard, because like you have to try, it's a trial and error kind of job. So you are sometimes so into the project that you are trying and failing. But then the moment that you have optimized your experiment to the point that you actually get it right and you see or discover what you didn't know what's going to happen, it's really cool. But also I think that one of the things that I really enjoy about this field that I wasn't aware of until I started my PhD was that my primary supervisor, Professor Derek Richard, he is trying to build his own drug discovery lab. And we were at a laboratory retreat, and he made us do a workshop where he just stood in front of us and he said, okay, I want everyone right now in like half an hour, just plan a pitch of your research and just pretend that there is a group of investors in front of you right now. And I want you to think, why is it that these investors will have to give you their money instead of the other researchers that are also doing cancer research? And I think that when he popped that question out, my brain just went into a place that it had never been before, because I was just focused in like what I do on the bench and that was it. But then I was like, actually, I can sell my research and I can make it go somewhere, like I can commercialize this. And so it became like a new challenge to me to start thinking about how to commercialize my research and engage with industry. And I don't know, since that happened, that hasn't left my brain, and I've just been really focused into that drug development commercialization step of the science field. Like as you said, Sabuj is more into, like he gets really passionate about the lab work, and I get really passionate about the science, or like the translating of science into business kind of field. So yeah, it's been really cool to discover that.
Yeah, I think even though I didn't pair the two of you up on purpose for this, but I almost feel like this is and an accurate representation of kind of the science pipeline. Like you've got Sabuj, who's there in the lab working on it, and then you've got yourself, Alejandra, who is out there wanting to commercialize what Sabuj has been working on and kind of moving it forward. So it's a really nice demonstration of how science can work. And that it can be about sort of moving it from an idea and a discovery into a drug that can then be, sold to a company, to develop for a patient, and that kind of nice little flow. Yeah, fantastic. All right, so we probably have time for one more question, and it is probably one of my favorite questions because I feel like it tells us a lot about our speakers. And it's, what do you do when you're not doing science? I know the two of you are deep in your PhDs at the moment, so work is all encompassing. But when you get a chance to take a step away, what do you do when you're not doing science? And I guess if you don't have that much time, what would you like to do if you're not doing science? I'll start with you, Sabuj.
When I'm not doing lab work, I used to play a lot of footballs, as I have shown. But in Brisbane, the chance of playing football is less. So I joined playing warehouse crickets. So every weekends we have games. So on the weekends, I love to play cricket, and I also love to travel a lot. And beside those things, is only for my purposes, I love to do another thing, that is volunteering to serve the society. I'm connected with at least 4 or 5 organizations for volunteering who are serving to the society, including Red Cross. And I was the president of QUT Bangladeshi Association to represent our country in Australia, especially within the university. And I also helped the international students through being a mentor of international student services at QUT. When I was at Macquarie, over there I was a mentor at QUT Bardi, MQ Bardi program. So I love volunteering, and except that, I'd love to spend time with my family. So these are my life besides science.
That's wonderful. I guess a big thank you for all your volunteer work and be able to, can contribute back to society and to places like obviously supporting other international. Goodness me, I can't talk today. Other international students. What about you, Alejandra?
Well, I really like going to the beach or going hiking with friends. I actually have a group of friends that we try and decide on new hiking places to go and explore, especially here in Australia, that there are so many. Also, I started Muay Thai, which is like a Thai version of kickboxing. So yeah, that's been really great. And I didn't know I like just like punching so much. And I also like going to the theater every now and then. I know it sounds really childish, but the latest one I went to see was Frozen, and it was great. It was so good. Apart from that, some extracurricular activities. I have been part of committees at both TRI and QUT, where we help students gain more confidence in terms of giving their presentation or talking about their research, and lose that fear of, people judging or criticizing your research, because eventually you are going to share your data at some point. So that has been really helpful in terms of like my confidence and helping others gain it as well.
That's fantastic. It's so lovely to hear that both of you are kind of giving back to your student societies. I think it's lovely to see. Alrighty, well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for sharing your STEM career journeys with us, Sabuj and Alejandra. It has been an absolute delight, and I've learned so much about you. So Beyond the Lab is made possible. Thank you to IMNIS NASA's major partner, MTP Connect, and it's part of their READY initiative, which is the Researcher Exchange and Development in Industry program, a $32 million initiative made possible by the Medical Research Future Fund. So don't forget, fill out your feedback form after you leave this session. Shape Your Future and Beyond the Lab will be continuing all of this year. So tune in to hear from many more scientists. All the information will be on the STELR and ATSI website. Thank you, everybody, and have a lovely day.